I'm sharing the screen. Okay, can you see this screen? The screen with the cursor. Can you see this screen? The one with the cursor. Okay, right. Okay, so what we want to look at is what is going to be the effect of a change in price in the labor market. Okay, and then what this means is if we are talking about effects in the labor market, then we are talking about the effect of the change in price on N and then the real wage, that's W over P. If you remember, when we're deriving the labor demand curve or function, we said that we could use real wage or nominal wage, and in both cases, we were getting the same result. But now what we want to look at is if there's a change in the general price level, how would this affect the real wage and then the quantity or the equilibrium of what the labor in the labor market? Is it going to change or is going to be constant? Right. So for what we have been doing, we said that it is only real factors that can cause a change in all the real variables that we're talking about, like the N star, Y star, W over P star. It's only real variables that can cause a change in those real variables. Okay, so what we want to talk about here is that whatever change that happens with the general price level will have no effect on the real variables. What this means is that if there's a change in price, when you go to the labor market, it is going to have no effect on N star, which will mean that there's going to be no effect on Y star, okay, on Y star. Right. So first, we'll try to use the real wage, the money demand function being a function of real wage. Okay, so that one is the first diagram that we have here. Okay, so here this is our labor demand curve, and then this is our supply of labor curve. And as we know, they are all functions of what? Of real wage. Good. Now, if there's an increase in price, okay, if there's an increase in price, so let's follow the cursor. If there's an increase in price here, what we have here is an equilibrium, right? So this is equilibrium wage, W1 over P1, when price was 1. And then this is our N1, okay? That is our equilibrium N, or the labor. Now, if price should increase to 2P1, what is going to happen? Let's start from the real wage. If price should increase with a constant nominal wage, P is increasing, okay, but W is constant. What this means is that there's going to be a reduction in real wage, okay? There's going to be a reduction in real wage. And if you are a worker, okay, you are a worker, and now you realize that the nominal wage that you are taking home cannot buy much quantities of goods and services. In other words, there's a reduction in your real wage. What are you going to do? You call for higher wages. Okay, you call for higher wages until you feel like your real wage is back to normal. So whenever there's an increase in price, this one we are using the real one. We are using the real wage being functions of the NS and then the ND. Okay, so when price should increase by a certain proportion, then workers are going to call for a higher wage. Okay, so they will keep on calling for higher wages until proportionately the increase in price will be the same as the increase in wage. And if that's the case, if price is increasing by say 50%, and then the nominal wage too is increasing by 50%, what this means is that there's going to be no change in real wage at all, which means that there will be no change in the demand for labor curve, and there will be no change in the demand in the labor supply curve, which means that the real wage won't change, and then your end star too won't change. I'm taking it again. Okay, we want to look at the effect of a change in price on the labor market. Okay, and we said that for labor demand, it could be a function of real wage or nominal wage. So for the first diagram that we have here, we are using real wage, and this one is the nominal wage. We'll talk about this one later. Okay, so for this one, for the real wage, now there's an increase in price. Okay, just assuming there's an increase in price. If there's an increase in price and we hold the nominal wage constant, if we hold the nominal wage constant, it means that there's a reduction in real wage, and then labor will realize that their take-home salary is doing nothing. They cannot buy the quantity of goods and services that they used to buy prior to the increase in price. I'm recording it too. Right, so if there's an increase in price, okay, if there's an increase in price, where nominal wage is constant, it means that there's a reduction in real wage. So what labor will do is, labor will call for higher wages. So when this higher wages is granted, then the wage too will be what? Will be increasing until it increase in a proportionate way towards to the initial increase in price. So what this means is that whenever price increases, wage will increase in the same proportion so that the real wage will not change at all. So if there's no change in real wage, then there will be no change in the units of labor that is hired. Okay, the units of labor that is hired. Is that okay? So you just assume price should increase again by say 20%. Then workers will call for an increase in wage up to 20% proportionately, which means that there's no change in what? W over P, and then N2 will remain unchanged. So what this means is that changes in price has no effect on the labor market. Changes in price has no effect on the labor market. This is the case where we are using the W over P. That is the labor demand function is a function of real wage. Okay, so this is how you have to do. Please take this thing carefully. I mean, whatever you have to do to understand this, to know how to draw the curves, it comes a lot. It comes a lot. When you check the Pascal, you see there, and you are supposed to draw all this. There's even another curve that you need to add later on. So please, as we are doing it, you take a pen and a paper and then be drawing along, okay? Right, so this is the case for the real wage. Okay, now let's look at the case where we are taking a demand function as a function of nominal wage, okay, as a function of nominal wage. Please follow. Okay, we are starting from here. Okay, you see where the cursor is. At this point, hey, where's the cursor? Okay, we are here. NSP1 and then what? NDP1. So this is the initial labor demand for labor curve, and then this one is the initial labor supply curve. And just know that they are all dependent on what? On the nominal wage. So now here we are. So just assuming that there's an increase in price. If you remember, we said whenever there's an increase in price, it means that there's an increase in the marginal revenue product of labor. MPN times P will increase, which means that producers will call for what? More labor. What this means is that there's going to be an increase in the labor demand function from MNP1 to what? MNP2, 2P1, this new curve, okay? This new curve. So if labor supply was to be constant, it means that N will what? N will increase. But no, that is not what is happening? Now, because of an increase in price, what will the real wage do? The real wage will even fall, right? So workers, private individuals will not be willing to supply more hours for work. If you remember, there's a positive relationship between the wage rate and the labor supply. So if now there's an increase in price, what this means is that there's a fall, or there's a decrease in what? In the real wage. And as a result, individuals will supply less. So the labor supply curve will decrease or will shift to the left. So this will be our new equilibrium. And what is happening is only the nominal wage that is moving up because of an increase in price. You know, workers will call for an increase in price, but you realize that the end star is not changing. It's back to equilibrium. If price should increase further, then producers will call for more labor, which means that the labor demand curve will shift upwards again. Then labor supply curve will shift to the left. Then this will be our new equilibrium. Okay, and it's still constant. So whenever there's a change in price, what it only causes is when there's an increase in price, what will only happen is what? It's an increase in nominal wage, which means that the real wage will not change. And if real wage is not changing, then your N star 2 will not change. When N doesn't change, your Y2 will never change. So what this means is that whether we use the real wage or the nominal wage being functions of the labor demand and supply curves, changes in price will have no effect on the labor market. And as a result, no effect on the, how do we call it, the output market. Okay, output will remain constant.